I do want to focus on what you've been seeing going on right now in Israel and how this trip is faring right now. Still in its earliest days here as the president continues a Mideast tour that will include meeting with the Palestinian Authority and try to broker some sort of Middle East peace, although that might be wishful thinking. The fact of the matter is that my next guest gives this president very high marks for how things are going. I'm talking about former CIA Director, among many other things, James Woolsey. Ambassador, very good to have you.
Good to be with you.
You know what struck me as the business nerd here, Ambassador, these transactions, the $100+ billion in deals, and quickly I saw how some in the media sort of poo-pooed those, but those are real deals, real money, and right now translating into real gains for some of the big defense contractors, chief among them today. What do you make of it?
Well, it should not be anything that would make the Iranians smile. I think seeing a substantial military buildup among 50 Arab countries, with the United States having a very major role, ought to give them a bit of pause about their imperial ambitions. And I think they do have a small empire, but nonetheless imperial ambitions.
You were mentioning this idea that this president seems to be surgically, I'm putting the words in there, removing a lot of the policies of the prior administration. Yes. What do you make of that? Because that could be interpreted both ways.
Well, I think the Obama administration had some substantive bad decisions, but it also was a matter of mood and tone. When you declare resolutely that Assad should never again use chemical weapons against his people or he'll cross my red line, and then he does it, and you kind of shrug and turn the whole problem over to the Russians, that's a substantive problem, because now we have to deal with a Russian presence in the Mideast that is more extensive, I think, than it otherwise would have been. But it's also a psychological one. It made the country look weak, and that all seems to be getting shoved into the pot that I think it deserves to be shoved into by President Trump.
Are you troubled, as some human rights advocates have been troubled, by the fact that the president is not going to lecture countries like Saudi Arabia for the treatment of women or any of that, that he's much more focused on the bigger picture and the bigger threat to the region, in this case Iran?
Well, on human rights issues with an ally, it's one of the most difficult things in diplomacy to deal with. And I would have liked to have seen him at least mention them, but he's the one who's working with his Secretary of State and drafting the speeches and so forth. I think that it's a situation also where we have to realize that even though we would very much like to see improvement in the role for women, improvement in getting away from some of the Sharia punishments, cutting off hands, all of that sort of thing, we have had to make compromises in the past. The most dramatic one, of course, was from 1941 to 1945. We were the close ally of history's, at that point, greatest killer, Joseph Stalin, who had killed more people than anyone in history as of 1941. Now, eventually Mao passed him, but it was, we needed him, and we needed him to defeat the Nazis, and we did, and it was a wise decision, even though I think Roosevelt probably had to swallow hard, as he called him Uncle Joe and so forth. So these kinds of decisions are really hard in diplomacy, because you want to stand up for the rights of people, but you also sometimes need to cut deals to get things done.
What about with Iran? I noticed there was an Obama administration official on another news network, ambassador, who said our overtures to this moderating government and the fact that it won with almost 60% of the vote means we're ignoring a chance to be part of the change that seems to be going on in Iran right now. You say what?
I believe the Iranian decision-making group about as far as I can throw them. I think that they have a word, tahiyya, or something close to that, which sort of means lying to infidels. And that's us. And we have no reason to expect them to level with us, play straight, keep their bargains. They just don't do that. For their point of view, negotiation and deals are not about the compromises and the ultimate document. They're about power. What they want to do is exhibit that they can put a boot in your face. And the rest of this is all sort of sometimes charming, sometimes not. But I don't think it has, for example, this, I think, very poor agreement that President Obama signed with them on nuclear matters 2 years ago. Those types of things are not going to hold up Iran's stretch and reach for an early move to a nuclear weapon. They will violate whatever they have to violate.
Ambassador, very good seeing you again. Thank you very, very much.